Hello, kids. It's Auntie Francie, and I'm sure that by now, August 31st, Wednesday, you're starting to think about heading back to school if you aren't already back in school. And I think that whatever grade you're in, whatever age you are, school can be lots of fun. Most of my Auntie Francie books are for elementary school kids in all grades. But if you study hard and are curious, school stays fun no matter how old you get, and learning stays fun no matter how old you get. So these are a couple books about that, and we're going to do some of these really fun poems. But remember, last time I said that we're going to do this one, so now we're going to do a walk in the words, and it is about having fun with words. But first, it's about gaining self-confidence when you learn, which is something that I talked about with some of the other books. And if you look, there's this kid, I don't know his name yet, but A Walk in the Words is by Hudson Talbott. And all these creepy words around, creepy woods have words. And they say things like, oh, let's turn this, inspiration and persevere and I think that's emancipate, which means to get free, and determination, and oh, this is one of my favorites, curiosity. Well, I want to tell you something about this book before I started it, because this author, Hudson Talbott, if you open up the page to this front jacket, you'll see that this is his story. It's kind of based on his story. He was one of those kids who found it difficult to read at first. He felt alone and lost in a world of words. Tongue twister. Fortunately, his love of stories wouldn't let him give up. He wanted to know what happened next in books, so he gave himself permission to read at his own pace, using familiar words as stepping stones to guide him into a story. He also learned he wasn't so alone after all. Lots of brilliant people were slow readers. Now, I think that's a great idea to read at your own pace, and I think it's a good idea sometimes to let the words guide you to understand other words. But I want to show you something. We do have a lot of other books, and I'm not going to read all these books to you. I'm just going to talk about them later. But when you are learning how to read, you'll find leveled readers. Like this is a group of three books from one publisher, and it's called Step Into Reading, the publisher. And so this is I Want to Be a Teacher, Beginning Reading. And it says, if you open this up, oh, well, actually, there's my first shared reading, basic language, word repetition, for when you first learn to read. And this is a little guide for grown-ups. And then this book is one of the beginning reading books. Short sentences, familiar words, and simple concepts for children eager to read on their own. And then you get to Reading with Help, and this is that really fun book I showed you. And the words get a little bit longer. Well, it says longer sentences and language play for developing readers. And we'll see that. And then finally, oh, look, we have a cartoon book. Oops, this is another Reading with Help book. Anyway, this is level 3 of Step Into Reading. And this is just one publisher that does these leveled readers. And their books are a little harder, but this is a cartoon book. I think this will be fun. So anyway, sounding out words is important. Learning all the ways that sometimes things are spelled differently but sound the same. That's also important. That's learning phonics is something you'll probably learn as you learn to read. But it's also good to just let your spirit be free and let your mind be free and guessing at the words from the context, not just from the pictures, but from the sentences. and the story. That can be good too, as long as you don't forget to do the phonics. And your teacher will help you with that, and your grown-ups will help you with that. And they should be nice to you about it as long as you're trying hard and taking it seriously. So, anyway, a walk in the words. He looks like it's a very small person in these great big woods that form the word words. Huh? Isn't that clever? And the stepping stones say by Hudson Talbott. Oh, wow. He seems like he likes to draw pictures. Do you like to draw pictures? Drawing always came naturally to me, he says. I drew all the time. I did it just like breathing. I just did it like breathing. Slow down to read it. Oh, wow, he's got a big picture here. My goodness, and he's got a lot of crayons and markers and things, pencils he'll have to pick up when he's done. Wow, why does it look like he's diving into the picture? Is that ever interesting or what? Every day, after playing with friends, I'd come home and draw stories I made up. It was like diving into my own world. There's a lot like that. Wow, look at all these things in the story. I see a spaceship. I see a flying horse. I see a dinosaur. What do you see? I liked words too, one at a time. When I was reading, I had to picture every word. See, for instance, this is the word horse. Well, actually, let's turn the camera this way. This is the H-O-R-S-E. It's pretty clever how it forms a picture of the horse, I think. And this is tall, T-A-L-L, small, well, short actually, but small is kind of short. And then there's, oh, remember what I said about phonics? Ant and ant, they sound alike, but they're spelled differently and they mean different things. You can see from this picture, and it goes on and on. There's mirror and it's reflecting itself, all kinds of it. But long sentences? No way. I would start a long sentence and then my mind began to wander. Wonder where his mind wandered. I was the slowest reader in my class. When everybody was turning to the next page, I was still on the first sentence. Nobody knew. Now, it might be that you're a good reader and just want to linger over the sentences like I'm lingering over this book and many others that I do here on the Auntie Francie and Annie Franny channels, and think about what you're reading. But yeah, sometimes you need to go faster to keep up and to get all your schoolwork done. But the books, nobody knew, but the books knew. And they were coming for me. So many words, so many pages. See, it's great to linger over a sentence or a part of the story, but yeah, there gets to be a lot of schoolwork if you don't keep organized. So it's important to learn and keep organized, and that might mean asking for help so that you don't get into a situation where you feel like this. Situation, that's one of those dictionary words. Remember, I talk about dictionary words. Books weren't always scary. The first ones were friendly, with big pictures and only a few words. This book is as if to say, howdy, big pictures. But little by little, the pictures got smaller and the text got longer, and he's imagining the book saying, me eat pictures, you read. It's kind of like a cartoon, this story. And that's going to happen to you as you learn to read. I could pick out the words that I knew, but the rest looked like squiggles. It's easy to pick out the parts in red, but you have to look really closely and read really closely to see all these parts in gray. We're going to read down here the part in black. It was a reign of terror. My drawing pad was my safe place. That's his drawing pad, I guess, that he's hiding under. And these words just feel like they're coming at him so fast that I think he's imagining it being like a storm, like of rain. Only, yeah, it says reign of terror. It's not real rain. My, look at all these. Looks like a newspaper with a bunch of articles. And it actually, if you look down at the articles, there's one that talks about thinking and learning. And we'd have to look more closely at this, but it does talk about curiosity. And I guess curiosity is kind of important in thinking of learning. But he says that a whole page of text looked like a wall keeping me out. By now, everyone in my class was reading book after book except me. So reading slowly is okay when you want to, but you should know how to read fast so that you can read lots of things, because there's so many things that you need to learn about and that are fun to learn about. What if the class, found out that I couldn't keep up? I had to face it. I was all alone and lost in a world of words. Oh, does he look sad? But remember the front cover, kids. It says good things like persevere and integrity. These are dictionary words, but these are happy words. These are good things. Curiosity is one you probably know, and we talked about that. Imagination is way back on one of those littler branches that look like they're behind. Determination. So that could be what's really on woodsy words like that, or wordy woods, or woods of words. Let's see. We're going to turn the page, and here we are. Everywhere I looked, there were big words, strange words, scary words. Now, things that are scary might just seem scary, or they might actually be scary. That's a good thing to think about. One big word was stalking me. Overwhelm. I guess that's a dictionary word, and there it is on this little stalk. It's not part of all these other branches. It's just part of this little stalk. So it's kind of a joke, a little pun. Overwhelm. It described the feeling of too many words coming at me at the same time. It made me want to give up. But here's the plot twist. I loved stories too much to quit. So I was good at picturing stuff. Maybe I could try picturing a way out. Well, let's see. It looks like his sort of uncertain face might be turning the corners of his mouth up. Maybe there will be a smile. We'll have to see. Okay, but it does have some good words here, like inspiration. It has some words like curiosity. It has some sad words like trepidation. These are all dictionary words. It also has ferocious. Well, ferocious could be your desire to learn to read. Not always a scary word. It could be scary, but it could be either. How about spectacular? How about explanation? You can maybe ask for an explanation of how to help yourself get better at learning to read. I grabbed overwhelm. It says overwhelm, and broke off over, so it just said whelm. It meant the same thing, but was more my size. Now I could whelm the words before they overwhelmed me. I'd just read at my own pace. After all, it was my walk in the words, and you can see some great big words, and it can take a while. After you learn to read, you read to learn, and then you can, as you go through first, second, third grade, the learning to read turns a little more into reading to learn until you get to fourth grade and above. And then you read to learn, and you start to learn how to use the dictionary to look up words. You start to learn to use words to, among other things, make wonderful creative writing poems about things like school, like this book we're going to do. But let's get back to and stories like this Hudson Talbott's walk in the words. Let's find out what happens as he keeps walking through these woods of words. It's like a great big tree. I took time to look for words I knew. there they were, like stepping stones, leading me onward. So here are the stepping stones leading them onward. They say, keep going. Yes, this way, and trust yourself. Those words that you know, go for it. And this is your path. So he can put several words together, and then around him are some dictionary words like undaunted and inquisitive and resolute. And they, if you get to a dictionary, you'll start to look up these words. You'll see that these big dictionary words pretty much are described by words like that he already knows, like keep going, yes, this way, trust yourself, go for it, and so forth and so on. And ooh, it looks like he's starting to get into the sunlight, and that is nice. Wear your sunscreen and maybe some sunglasses. I jumped over the words I didn't know and let the words I knew lead me into the story. After a while, I wasn't thinking about reading. I just wanted to know what happened next. And there's a little cartoon here where the books say, there are a lot of books, but there's one of the books saying, we come in peace. The war between my fear of reading and my curiosity was over. Curiosity won. Books weren't so scary once I got to know them. Yee-haw! And now I was beginning to like words. Why rush past them? So now he will take the time maybe to sound them out and learn those phonics that you guys are probably learning in school, like the PH sound in phonics makes the same sound as you're used to with the letter F. That's a kind of a phonic, how to sound things out and how they change a lot. There's a little sign, read at your own speed. So this is kind of neat. It's kind of a cartoon book. And you see him on his journey. There's all the way. Whoops, it goes up here. It goes to blanket toss. It goes in here to the read your own speed. Then we come down here. See, learning how to read down the page is another part of it. And just usually the text will go straight up and down on a book, but not always. You'll see. I realized that just because I was slow at reading didn't mean I had to fear it. I also learned that many great people were slow readers. He's going into a house that's all made up of books. Now, don't leave your book that way unless it is a notebook. This is a spiral-bound notebook. I'll just zoom up so you can see. I honored them all in my Slow Readers Hall of Fame. Kids, do you know any of these people? Here's George Washington and Sojourner Truth, Albert Einstein, Babe Ruth. Wow, it sort of rhymes, Sojourner Truth and Babe Ruth. I didn't even plan that. Oh, my goodness, even Shakespeare was a slow reader. He is very famous for his writing. Lots of other famous people, boxer Muhammad Ali, Leonardo da Vinci, great painter and scientist, Annie Oakley from the old West, artist Picasso, Joan of Arc, another very brave girl. And I tore down that terrible wall of shame. Slow readers savor the story. Savor is a very good dictionary word. I think that is my number one recommended dictionary word to you. And recommended is another dictionary word. It means that I think that is the best one to look up if you want to understand this particular story we're in. So, Hall of Fame tears down the wall of shame. I experimented with ways to tell my stories. I could still tell a story with pictures. Oh, look at those monsters. Those are funny. Or I could tell it with words. And he's written a little story, The Monster from Planet Mungo. It says chapter 18. We'll take a side trip into this story. The monster cornered me. My gun jammed. Okay, I don't like guns. I had to think fast or Earth was doomed. Maybe he'll find a way without using a gun. But as for using words and pictures, my favorite way was using both. And you can see the pictures and the little story. The monster attacked the space station. People ran for their lives. He saw me. there's a front view of the monster seeing him. I had to stop the monster before he reached Earth. And then you read up here and he said, yikes, my gun jammed. What's he going to do? I'll let you kids think about what happens in that story while we go back to the bigger story of Hudson, this boy here, learning to read. I remembered how my horses got better the more I drew them. My writing would improve too if I wrote every day. A drawing could show what a horse looked like, but with words I could bring them to life. Now they could breathe and snort and carry me on adventures. See? There's the first little stick drawing, and these are some more practice drawings. And after a while, you see more the horse looking more and more realistic, which is, it's okay if you don't want to draw it looking realistic. Actually, this isn't totally realistic. Have you ever seen a horse with wings for real? This is his imagination. He puts imaginary and realistic together to make the horse, and that takes practice with his drawing. So now the horses could breathe and snort and carry him on adventures. I read every day in search of new words for my stories. Read and read sound, are spelled the same, but they sound different. You have to look at the story to understand. I read every day because it was like finding new colors for my art. But now I was learning to paint with words. So now I'm just there were still times when I felt lost in a sea of words. My drawing pad was still my safe place. Others found music, sports, math, and science. See, there are some other kids. There's music and sports. Let's take a look. Math on that's an old-fashioned blackboard. You kids might have a computer, but either way, you can still do the math. See, there's the math. So the kids find things that they're good at or that they like, and it helps them. Words had always, when they're learning new things like how to read, which is a great big thing to learn, words had always scared me, but once I felt free to read at my own speed, they became my friends. I could unlock the magic of stories and even become a storyteller myself, turning that sea of words into an ocean of possibilities. So I wonder, now that he likes reading and he's getting better at writing with practice, I wonder what's going to happen in that big face-off with the monster. Now, this book may not tell us about that, but you can imagine that, how he faces off with the monster, and write your own endings, kids, while I read the rest of the bigger story that this is. Now all I have to do is enjoy the ride. Big wave, but he's going at his own pace. And see, that's it. But the author's note talks about something that you and your parents and teachers hopefully will read about together. Long ago when I was learning to read, there was no such word as dyslexia in common usage, or even a pleasant phrase like reluctant reader, which he isn't reluctant, he was just slow. And he talks about his true story of how he learned to read, and there are a lot more words, but I can see reading through this, just glancing at this, which is a reading skill, it's basically a lot like the story we just read. It's just a kind of an explanation for when you get to be a good reader, you and your grown-ups can read that together, and I hope that it does another thing, inspires you. And there is a picture of our friendly little boy learning to read, Hudson, as a grown man who wrote this book and wrote several others. So you can check out his books from the library, starting maybe with A Walk in the Woods. See you next time.